In Skyfall, MI6 comes under attack and 007 must track down and destroy the threat, no matter how personal the cost.
What do you say about a man like that?
3 months ago, you lost the drive containing the identity of every agent embedded in terrorist organizations across the globe.
007 reporting for duty.
Where the hell have you been?
Enjoying death.
I only have one question. Why not stay dead? There's no shame in saying you've lost a step.
I'm not specifically a James Bond fan, but I certainly do enjoy watching the Bond movies, as do most people. They're always a good time, and I was looking forward to Skyfall because I like Daniel Craig's Bond. I didn't really care for Quantum of Solace, so I was thinking, oh, hopefully this one will be better, and I'm happy to say that it is definitely better, and I would say it's probably my favorite Daniel Craig Bond movie, but it does have some problems. First things first, it's a very different movie, which is good, but I think that they tried to stick to the formula too much to the point where it almost feels like two different movies. The first half kind of just feels like a general Bond movie, and the second half feels very, very different, and I enjoyed it a lot more. I thought it was very interesting, and the movie is like 2.5 hours long, so I think that if they could have maybe blended the two halves together a little better, it could have been a little shorter, because it got a little slow at points, but I'd say the main issue is just that it kind of is two different movies. Other than that, I thought it had some really good acting. I thought Daniel Craig did a great job in this one, because he kind of played a different Bond, which I'll get into, and I thought Javier Bardem was fantastic. But before we get into that, let's talk about the plot and the writing of Skyfall, which I thought was much better than Quantum of Solace, for example. I thought it felt much more substantial. Everything felt like the stakes were higher, like there was much more of a personal story to the whole thing, and it obviously had some action scenes, but ironically, I would say that, you know, the action and, you know, the sex and whatever you'd expect from a Bond movie kind of was second to the story. I actually thought the story was more important in this one, and that's one reason it was very interesting, because I feel like more recently it's really kind of about the action. Like I said, I do feel like it was kind of two different movies, and I don't know if this is more in the directing or the writing, but it's probably a mix, because I feel like they wanted to make it different, but you don't want to alienate your fan base. Your fan base goes to see a James Bond movie, you know what I mean? So you gotta be careful, especially if your James Bond is kind of out of commission a little bit, you know? And that's what I thought was really interesting, was that Bond was not on top of his game in this movie, and that added some really kind of exciting tension to the movie, because you honestly didn't know, okay, is he gonna make it out of this? Is he not? You know, it's a little predictable, obviously. It's a Bond movie. But still, I thought there was a little bit more tension than you'd expect from a normal Bond movie, in the sense that you don't know exactly what's gonna happen. But, that being said, it kind of feels like they wanted to make sure that the fans got what they wanted, so the first half feels more like a traditional Bond movie, and the second half is where it feels very different. So, as I said earlier, I think that it was a little bit disconnected, and because of that, I would say overall I didn't connect with the movie as a whole, but I really connected with certain scenes. And that, of course, leads me into the directing. I thought that some scenes were just, first of all, visually amazing. There's one moment where there's like a fight going on in front of a sort of video wall, and it's just their silhouettes, and it just holds the shot. I thought it was great. Another time when the shot is held is when we're first introduced to Javier Bardem, which I also thought was excellent. Just a great, great shot. Very, very tense, because the camera is just holding on him, walking slowly across the room. I loved it, but this still, of course, has to do with the directing, I'm sure, the fact that it kind of feels a little disjointed. But like I said, I was definitely able to connect to some scenes. Those are just a couple of them. And so I have to say, as far as the directing goes, I thought it was great. Just maybe, you know, not meshed together well enough, the first and second half, but the visuals, the fight scenes, the action scenes, all that stuff I thought looked really good. Except for the Komodo dragon part. I think that was a Komodo dragon. I didn't care for that because I don't care for CG creatures. I thought it was a little silly. I don't think that the concept was bad, because in Bond movies I kind of am looking for some silliness to it, but just the fact that it was CG threw me off. I didn't really like that. And acting-wise, I gotta say, I really thought Daniel Craig did a great job in this one, because as I said, he's not playing your regular Bond, and Javier Bardem points it out plenty of times. He's not the Bond he used to be. And so I liked that it was sort of a, you know, not completely their Bond, which really almost makes it not even a Bond movie, because he's supposed to be completely together, completely with it, and in this one, you know, he was a little rusty, he was a little shaky. But I thought Daniel Craig did a really great job with that. However, he is overshadowed, in my opinion, by the very underutilized Javier Bardem, who I thought was excellent as the villain Silva. And now I'm always hoping for some sort of crazy, you know, almost silly's the wrong word, but some sort of almost cartoony twist to the Bond villains, because, you know, you've got the, you know, stroking the cat and stuff like that. It's kind of silly. So I was really happy that he had sort of a flamboyancy to him, and he also had an interesting physical trait, which I won't give away. I don't know if it's a surprise or what, but I thought that was great. However, I think he's introduced a little too late into the movie, and he's underused for that reason. So I would have loved if he was introduced a little earlier, but other than that, I do think he stole all of the scenes he was in. I thought that he was great, and like I said, I just would have liked to see him more. Other than them, I thought everybody else was good. I thought Judi Dench was, as usual, very good as M. I really liked Ben Whishaw as Q, except he was also very underused, and ironically, there's not a whole lot of gadgets in the one movie that Q comes into in this series of James Bond movies, but okay. And overall, because it was very different, I really, really enjoyed Skyfall, and I just wish that they had gone all the way on it being different, rather than, like I said, kind of having the first half be a little more traditional Bond, because it did feel like two different movies. I do also wish that Javier Bardem was in it more, because I thought that he was excellent. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. So let me know in the comments what you thought of Skyfall. Let me know what you were expecting. Did you like Casino Royale? Did you like Quantum of Solace? Let me know if you agree or disagree that it kind of felt like two different movies, or if you thought that it meshed together well and it was excellent, or if you didn't like it at all, I don't know. Let me know what you thought of Daniel Craig sort of playing a different, damaged Bond in this one. Definitely let me know what you thought of Javier Bardem. Let me know anything that you want about Skyfall, and that's pretty much it.